Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Is it really not good for you? That glass of wine is so
Well,
nice.
one glass of wine I do not think is bad for you.
Yeah,
it's
that's all
not
I have.
great for you.
Right.
But a glass of wine relaxes you, and there's probably benefit in being relaxed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
But the problem was I own a nightclub, and I'm there all the time.
Yeah, so
and
you're
I'm,
drinking more than a glass.
out with the fellas, and then I'd maybe have a couple glasses of whiskey on a podcast with some guys,
Right.
and then when I stopped, I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. Like, why was I poisoning myself?
Really? You did feel much better?
Yeah.
Immediately you felt it?
Yeah, because when you think about it, we rolling? Yeah. So when I stopped drinking, I was probably having like 2 or 3 glasses of some kind of alcohol a night, 2 or 3 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd go out to dinner with my wife and have like a glass or 2 of wine. That's a lot of drinks
Yeah.
over the week. And you don't think it's much because you're not drunk. But the next day I'd be like, ugh, like a little draggy,
Right.
like when I go to the gym. And that's gone.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wish I had that strength.
It's not even strength. It was easy to do.
Was
I don't. Yeah, I don't
that
even miss
glass,
it.
You know, I haven't had a glass of anything for a week now. I had surgery exactly a week ago,
What'd you have done?
an appendectomy.
Oh,
Yeah, I was. It was exactly last Thursday, which is why I have these marks on my arms. Yeah, I thought I had to go to the bathroom all day, and then my husband forced me because I had stomach pain, and I just thought I had food poisoning or something, so I kept on going to the toilet.
those are scary. 'cause
And
they
nothing was
burst.
happening. Yeah, it didn't burst, but my husband forced me to go to the hospital, and I got there, and yeah, it was an appendicitis, and
Whoa.
I had emergency appendectomy the next morning. But so, which recovery has been totally fine, but I haven't wanted to drink because I want to make sure I was going to be able to come here today, and I wanted to recover faster. So, so I
But you
think
miss
it's the
it?
longest I've ever been without drinking. A
Well,
week.
you have a very, very
Stressful job.
stressful job. It's insanely stressful. You are one of the most boots on the ground journalists I've ever met. You go to some really dangerous and terrifying places. Like, I still get nightmares from that video where you showed me where you went to the jungle where they process cocaine.
Yeah.
And then walked out with them, hiked out with them through that was just nuts.
Yeah, don't mean to cause you nightmares, but I love doing what I do. You know, we've done 5 seasons of Trafficked. The last season just premiered a couple of months ago. It's available now on Hulu. And unfortunately, it's the last season of Trafficked.
Why's that?
I think a few reasons. I think it's a risky show to put together, right? It's a costly show. It's Disney decided that Nat Geo should be doing more natural history and animal programming. And I think Trafficked is just it is a really challenging show to put together. But I'm incredibly proud of the work we've done. And this last season, the 5th season, has some of my favorite stories we've done. And I'm now starting a podcast. Oh, I
Nice.
launched it yesterday.
Congrats.
So now
Well,
I'm
about
your
time.
competition. It's about time.
Someone will do your show again somewhere else, though.
Yeah,
It's too
so
good.
This is what I'm hoping is with the podcast. It's on YouTube, and I'm growing it into something bigger. So it starts with interviews. The podcast is called The Hidden Third. Because an estimated 35% of the global economy are these black and gray markets, which is what I've reported on for the
Whoa,
past
wait
few
a
years.
minute.
It's a crazy
Really?
number, right? Mm-hmm.
35% of the
An
economy?
estimated 35%, which is what economists call the hidden third. So we're not just talking about illegal activities and goods like drugs and scams and whatnot and guns. We're also talking about the gray. That's the black market, and then there's the gray market, which is the unregulated part of the economy. So untaxed work, untaxed goods, everything from like the man selling fruit on the corner, to other jobs and goods that are untaxed. But this actually has an effect on all of us because it's less money that comes in for schools and infrastructure and hospitals and all the stuff we need. And then apart from all that we know, which is the black market and how that affects us all, which is, whether you talk about guns or drugs or immigration, it all has a direct impact on our lives. So with this podcast, what I really wanted to do is, after reporting on these black markets for 20 years, is I wanted to have a place like this where I can have intimate, raw, sometimes difficult conversations with people who have lived or are living on the other side of the law and who I wanted to figure out why somebody decides to become a smuggler, a trafficker, a scammer, a bookie, all these crazy lives that people lead. See how it affects us all, understand why what they do affects us all. And also, I think the most important part for me, which has always been, and I've talked about this with you, which is trying to understand if the circumstances were different, if it could have been you and me doing that,
I think most certainly that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, most certainly that's the case geographically.
Oh, 100%
Yeah.
geographically. Yeah.
If you have no options and you're stuck in a third world country, guess what?
Yeah.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah. It was that story that we did in the same episode you mentioned, the cocaine trafficking, which I will never forget, which was the kid who was carrying in his backpack, right? He was 16, 17-year-old kid carrying cocaine, 20 kilos of cocaine on his back for days on end in the jungles. Had seen so many of his friends being killed in front of him by rival gangs. And when when I asked him, why are you doing what you do? He says, because I've always wanted to be a dentist. I want to go to school and be a dentist, but my family's too poor and they can't afford my education. And the only job that I have available for me now is doing this cocaine trafficking or, carrying cocaine on my back. And these are stories I hear all the time. So the idea of being able to place ourselves in people's shoes and understand that, yes, even the people that we consider the bad guys could be me and you, as you know, has always been very important for me. So the podcast allows me to do that.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
When you say that, like, it's 1/3, how much of it is stuff that's not dangerous, like selling fruit on the side of the road and
so it's
untaxed labor?
It's difficult to have exact numbers, but the estimate is that about 15%, 15 to 20% are black markets, and the rest are gray markets. So the totality is around 35%, an estimate.
Okay.
But I mean,
So it's kind of half.
Yeah, more or less.
Half danger's stuff.
Yeah,
Half people that are
untaxed,
just
unregulated
not,
stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, they also mix, right? Because a lot of times what happens in one side affects the other. One of the really the things that I think we've talked about a lot is I think this number shocks a lot of people, but if you think of the drug trade alone, $600 billion, that's the estimate, anywhere between $300 and $600 billion every year just from the drug trade alone. These are crazy numbers. And so it's not so out of the box to think that, this is a large percentage of our economy.
Is it difficult to get people to come and sit with you on a podcast and talk about illegal activities?
Yes, but it was also on the show. I think the harder part is that on the show, we figured out a way of how to make them comfortable because I would go to them, right? On the podcast, it's harder to convince an active trafficker or smuggler to come and sit down in my office.
Right, I would think it's a setup.
So, yeah. So, a lot of times the meetings that we had on the show happened in undisclosed locations in vans, for example, or in places that they felt comfortable with. Their, drug labs or their drug houses or their homes sometimes. So this has been a little bit harder, but we're making it work. We're hoping that it grows, so then we actually have money to start traveling more and going to some of these places.
Is this something that you always wanted to do, like do a podcast, or is it something that was a necessity when the show was canceled, or did you just think maybe I should branch out?
I've always wanted to do it, and I tried. We had done an iteration of it a couple of years ago, but I just didn't have the time because I was traveling, half the year or more for traffic. So it was really hard to do a weekly podcast. It was almost impossible. But I spent so much time talking to people who have really interesting backgrounds, and then we use only 5 minutes of their interview, if that. And these are fascinating people that, again...
Do you have access to that footage?
The footage...
The footage that you edited out?
Yes. Yes.
But do you have access to it? Like, are you allowed